Earlier this week, we celebrated the feast of a saint who was lifted up by Pope Benedict as an outstanding example of Christian hope in his encyclical Spe Salvi. This saint was Saint Josephine Bakhita. Saint Josephine was born in Darfur in the Sudan in the year 1869. And at the age of 9, she was kidnapped and taken from her family and forced into slavery. She was owned by 5 masters, and it seemed like each master got successively worse. In fact, it's reported that the beatings that she received were so severe that she forgot her name. And that's when her name, Bakhita, came from. Her Muslim captors called her Bakhita almost as an irony because it means lucky. But through her life, she had to bear the scars and the lacerations of her mistreatment. Over 114 individual scars remained with her throughout her whole life. Eventually, she was bought by an Italian family and made her way to Italy. When she was with this family, she began to learn of a new master. Not a master like any other earthly master who treated her cruelly or who simply wanted her because she was useful in some tasks. No, this master was the master who created her, who loved her, and knew her through and through. This master was the Lord of Lords and the King of heaven and earth. At one point, this family she was serving wanted to go back to Africa, but she said no. She said no because she knew that if she left Italy, she would be taken away from this new master and she wouldn't be able to be with him anymore. So she refused to leave. She received baptism, she was confirmed, received First Holy Communion, and she joined a convent of sisters. In the convent, she did just the ordinary tasks like any of us have to do, day in and day out. And she made a few journeys through Italy to tell her witness, to tell about God. Fundamental to this is this quote, and she said, quote, "I am definitively loved, and whatever happens to me, I am awaited by this love. And so, my life is good." This master, Jesus, whom she came to know and love, she knew in her heart that God had a plan for her, not a plan to push her down, but a plan to lift her up. And indeed, in baptism, she was made not a servant of God, in a sense, but rather a beloved child of her Heavenly Father. A destiny which we participate in too. Simply put, all of the church's teachings, all of God's teachings are meant to lift us up to heaven as Saint Josephine was lifted up to heaven, not to push us down. At the end of her life, Saint Josephine was crippled with pain and she was confined to a wheelchair. But even through that suffering, she remained cheerful. And when people would ask her why she was so cheerful, she would smile and she would look at them and she would simply say, "As the Master desires." So, brothers and sisters, my prayer for me and my prayer for you is that each of us can come to know this loving Master, and that whatever's going on in our lives, we may always turn to Him with faith, hope, and love and say, "Lord, whatever you desire."